Game Theater.
Welcome to the Fighting Game Theater. Ever since pugilistic games exploded in the early 90s with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, fans from around the world all agreed the most important part of any fighting title was having a good intro to get you nice and hyped. Gameplay was, and always remained, secondary. So, in the annals of fighting game history, many intros have come and gone, but they all usually focused on trying to get their roster over, highlighting a particular feud between two main characters, or simply wanted to get 15-year-olds holding PlayStation controllers excited. The intro we'll be looking at today is brought to us by the sequel to the seminal PlayStation fighting series, Battle Arena Toshinden. Wait, what? You don't think Toshinden is important or good? Hey, well if Sony thinks it is, then it's good enough for you. So, let's look at the intro, completely raw and naked before our very eyes, before we might tear it apart.
That which the world had never seen before, the ultimate fighting tournament, Battle Arena Toshinden. It has been a year since the incredible tournament took place. Those who fight to find their true selves, those who fight to preserve the future, they have assembled to fight again. And so the next tournament begins.
Yeah. Whew. Okay, so, this intro starts off almost identically to Battle Arena Toshinden 1. We can see a sinking sun flanked by clouds, while an old decrepit man waxes poetic. This man is never officially identified, and isn't even used again as the ring announcer, so let's just assume this is the voice of God or whatever higher power you like. In fact, you should just assume the voice belongs to whoever was in charge at Sony Computer Entertainment in 1995, who pushed Toshinden to be a thing probably much longer than it should have. However, unlike Toshinden 1, there's no subtitles for this promo, which is something I kinda have to dock points for. Why regress from what you've already done? This starting bit is a carbon copy of the last game, like mentioned before, so why not just fully rip it off and feature subtitles? Absolutely not, Toshinden 2. Also, I have to say, the language and cadence here is not nearly as dramatic or as effective as the one from Takara's first outing with the series.
Some fighters have come for personal glory. Others have come to fight for those they love. But all will do their best to be victorious in this tournament, which will decide their fortunes.
Their destinies intertwined. These chosen warriors fight for many reasons. Love, glory, revenge.
That had a palpable mysticism to it, and it made you think, oh man, Toshinden is some serious shit. But this sequence has a more tired, lackadaisical approach.
It has been a year since the incredible tournament took place.
But all of a sudden, oh man, that's a fire! Oh yes! Not only is this guitar amazing 90s Japanese magic, you can see why we're starting our inaugural episode with Toshinden 2 and not 1. Because the sinking sun is the only thing you get for an intro in that game. But for Battle Arena the second, we launched to something so cheesy, precious, and wonderful. Real-life actors dressed up as the characters. If you ever wanted a crossover between Mortal Kombat and Toshinden and you didn't, this would be the result. We then see flashing images of E.G. Shinjo, Toshinden's version of Ryu, before we transition into a bubbly Windows 95 screensaver to our next fashion disaster. Much like E.G., Sophia was also pegged to be a counterpart to a Street Fighter character, but this time being Thunder Thighs herself, Chun-Li. Sophia was used a lot in marketing materials and had her own huge section in Iron Mouse's CG shrines. So, reason number one not to dress up your actors to try and emulate impossibly proportioned anime characters, this. Even so, I guess someone on the intro team realized this actress wasn't apparently enough visual stimuli, so they decided to cram some random game footage on the right side down there. What the hell is this? Let us just focus on one thing. This lady needs all the attention she can get. You dressed her up, didn't you? But now you're just kind of drawing us away from her mom-like gaze. And not in the good Lisa Ann way, but more like the your dad and I are going out for a party and we'll be back later way. Honestly, while live-action actors have some charm, this intro would have been better off to have some nice high-quality renders or maybe even artwork in its stead. After that, we then meet the full cast of warriors, which is a common practice in fighting game intros, so you better get used to it. Not only do we see said fighters going through a move or two, we get their name and a bland job description. This doesn't work because Chaos, for example, is this crazy character that farts out poison and uses a scythe. He's pretty cool, but his actual job description is executive, which isn't particularly intimidating or cool. It would be better if these descriptors were more about their temperament, so Chaos could then be Insane Warrior or Unhinged Maniac. Anything would have been better than executive. Kain, the best character in the game, does fine with his bounty hunter moniker, but Rungo Iron fares less well with Minor, and Tracy does no better with Policewoman. Also, Fofi gets Magician. Like, what? Like a David Copperfield or one of those New York City street magicians? There is not enough information here. The other remaining three characters finally get the shine now that the jobbers are apparently out of the way. E.G. and Sophia are formally introduced with flashes of their actors' Please Stop. Then, of course, we get... Jesus, man. Then we have Elise, I don't know, the standard vanilla expected mediocre magical girl trope.
Oh well, but I'll never give up.
The character is done no favors with this poor woman having to yuck it up, flapping her arms in a disinterested manner. Did she realize at the time what she was being a part of here? Instead of putting her in a bright green wig, they take the much dumber route by poorly dyeing her hair a horrid green, completing a look that would make even crying Tina scream in agony. I do have to say though, the transition of blowing kisses to a super move was fairly slick. Mwah! And is one of the highlights of this section of the intro. The Japanese characters that have been occasionally spliced in, spelling Battle Arena Toshinden, is capped off with the number 2 before we are introduced to conveyor belt of characters throwing out wake-up supers. Loving the music during this section though, and I have to say it gets even better as we move into the last and best shot of the intro. The 11 default characters are all positioned gloriously and perfectly on a jagged mountain top, each one getting a moment to hot dog and grandstand. The swell of music here also just really helps out as a fantastic way to close out before the 90s as hell logo comes into view. This was as big as Toshinden would ever get. In fact, even Capcom took notice of the series and distributed the arcade version across the globe that had nothing to do with the home ports for whatever reason. Man, I don't know why, but I'd love to own an arcade cab of this. Yeah, you know, Maximilian can keep his versus game machines in his House of the Dead. I'll gladly take this. Toshinden would later go on to 4 numbered sequels, a few spin-offs and special editions, and would culminate in an obscure Japanese-only reboot on the Wii that I think only I really know of. As for the intro itself,
Judgment.
Let's break it down. Recycled opening sequence borrowed from the first game. Not as effective, but still cool and sets the mood. Awesome Japanese guitar does most of the heavy lifting as it brings you through the character lineup. Actors cosplaying is cheesy good fun, but the state of the costumes looked bad back then and worse now. Despite some odd descriptors, the fighter montage goes by at an appropriate clip without dwelling on any one character too much. Good stuff. Although the added emphasis on E.G., Ellis, and Sophia seems a bit weird/random. Final shot of the entire cast is so goddamn epic that it automatically just gets a pass right there. Overall, I think this is a good intro that sets out to hype you up, and even for a middling, forgotten series like Toshinden, it gets the job done. An overloaded, nostalgic blast of 90s awesomeness. I'm gonna give it a resounding...
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you know of any other fantastic fighting intros you want me to break down, let me know in the comments below or shoot an email pigeon my way at McMuscles@gmail.com. Keep fighting, folks, and we'll see you next time on the Fighting Game Theater.
I believe in your talent. You should begin to believe in yourself, too.
Yes, you're right. I'll do my best.
Just don't stick me.